Recordings rolling. It is Monday, March 10th. Have you guys put together a Zoetrope? This is going to be a 2-day project. So everybody has this template. You guys have some markers, some scissors, some glue, probably some string at your desk. Although we're probably not going to get to the string until tomorrow, but you guys have it anyway. Okay. So what is this? How do you put this together? You guys might see some models hanging around the classroom. Look out like this, like these hanging lanterns with these windows in them. Okay, so let's flip the screen over here. All right, let's do a little history trip. Guys, what is this set of frames right here with the horse running? Does anybody know what this is? Ah, that's it. Yeah, guys, that's the very first movie ever made. So way back in the 19th century. So a little bit of story behind this called Boy Bridges Horses. They're a couple of guys. They were making a bet. Oh, you know what? I'm going to slide this off my screen. Let me ask you guys. So guys, when a horse is in motion, I want to see a show of hands. What do you guys think? Because these two guys were making this bet, and that's what set up and eventually led to movies being created. Okay. One guy said, hey, I think when a horse is running, there's some point where all 4 hooves are off the ground at some point. And another guy said, no. I think at some point, at least one hoof is always touching the ground when a horse is running. Okay. Who thinks the first guy is right? That at some point the horse is completely off the ground. Who thinks the horse is completely off the ground at some point? Okay. Who says at some point at least one hoof is always touching the ground? Nobody says that? Oh, everybody got that right then. Yeah. All right. So you can see that in these top 2 frames right here. Yeah. You guys are absolutely right. Yeah, there's some point where all 4 hooves are off the ground. And so I set this up as I set up a series of cameras. It's at least 12 cameras to make this work. Each camera would be tripped by a string. So when the horse was running in front of the cameras, it would trip all these strings sequentially, one by one. You get stap, and then they put these together, and oh yeah, world's first movie right there. Right, so I'm gonna have you guys do an animation version of this. Zoetrope. Is this the one? Yeah, so what do I want? Let me just back up a little bit here. Okay. So model I'll have you guys put together looks a lot like this one. Has anybody ever seen one of these in real life? Who's seen one of these? Seen one of these? Yeah, the zoo. Brevard Zoo, I know, has one of these. My last class, some students were saying some other places too, but yeah, I know Brevard Zoo has seen one of these. All right, so now we're gonna give this thing a spin. Now the one on the video, they have embedded in an axle. You guys see this axle from down below. Now we're going to do an easier version with string from the windows in the top, which I think spins really nice actually. Okay. But if you give this thing a spin, while you're looking just from the side like that, it just looks like a blur. Like that would be pointless. But if you look through these windows, you can get a strobe effect. See if I can find a point in the video where it does this. See, it looks like a blur, but you look through the windows. Oh, and there's a running horse. Look at that, running horse. Looks pretty well. Okay? It works really nice in real life too. I have 3 models hanging from the ceiling in my room. At some point today, if you guys want to get up and check out the models, just give it a spin like that. Make sure you're looking through the windows to make it work. I have a cat running. They got a horse running here. What do I do? Oh, here, I got a bit of a bonus video here. So here's a way fancier version of a Zoetrope. Back up. There you go. Now this one, some of these like these without the windows, you can create with strobe lights, and otherwise a variation on this has to do with the rotation of that disc lining up with the frame rate of the camera. Right, so that's what we're going to make that work. Right, but we're going to do the window version, which works really well. Right, so back to here. All right. So how we putting this together? So you guys have this template. Actually, looking at this, this is upside down. Let me flip it around. Here we go. You guys see some grid space? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 grids there. And down here, there's another 6 grids. That's 12 frames altogether. Now, I do need to cut this in half. So here, I'm going to image this this way. Now, before you do this, you may want to think about it a little bit more or measure, but I'm just do this a particular way just so you guys can see this. Okay, so hang tight before you do this yourself. Okay. So this apart. Okay. All right, I'm going to put my windows on top just to match my model. Okay. Notice my model, I'm looking from above. Okay, so if you turn this whole thing upside down, if you put the windows upside down, you could have this hanging really, really high and you're looking up from above, but I'm going to do it this way. Also, it's easier to just put the string hanging from above, right? So, but by tomorrow, sometime in class tomorrow, it's going to take us to get to the string part. you swing like this. You're looking from above. So really, I want my windows on top. Okay. Yes, you have 6 frames on the left and 6 frames on the right. Is that too? Okay. Now, before I get to the frames, I have to cut a little bit more, okay? Because I've also got this extra margin, and I know right now if I don't cut any more, I know this margin is going to overlap. It's going to cover up some of my frame, so I'm going to cut out some of this margin. Here, what if I cut some margin on only on the right side on one of these, and also only on the right side on the other one? So I'm just cutting on the right side. Okay. Now I want to leave the margin on the left side so that I have something to glue. So now I can glue that down just like that. Okay. Now, one other thing is, you can see how I have the ink line lined up, but now the edge of the paper isn't quite lined up. You guys see that? Right, there's a little bit extra there, a little bit extra there. Okay. So I'm gonna make a little mark. Right, so I need to shave off a little bit there and shave off a little bit down here. What is a little bit? Looks like about 6 millimeters. It's that same thing down here. Should be. Yeah, 6 millimeters. All right, so I need to shave off about 6 millimeters. So probably a really smart way to do this is to measure first and make a line. Actually, let me do that just for good practice. Right. Measure this. Zip out a line that I want to shave off. You need to, okay, just so that everything lines up. Because if the paper lines up with also the ink lines, then when I get this thing spinning, it'll be symmetrically balanced. Like the center mass will be at the geometric center. Okay. So it'll spin really smooth, right? But for that to happen, I gotta shave off this bit that I just dashed a line through right there. To shave this off. Same thing here. Same side. Yeah. See if that lines up any better. Put my windows on top. You got, oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. Okay. And keep in mind too, the spacing in the windows. You guys see how it's even spacing all the way across? I also want that to be true across this gap. And same thing true on the other side, because you guys know, of course, it's going to be glued into a cylinder eventually, right? You guys see it's going to be a cylinder shape, right? Show the model again. Right? This is what we're headed towards this model, right? Yeah. Now I have a running cat here. And it's kind of hard to get this to work in front of the video camera, but of course, there's a few models of this hanging up around the room. So we just can look through the windows and see a running cat. And actually does work really well in real life. You can see that too. It's got some models for you. Right? What else? I do have 12 windows here. May as well cut out at least one of these because I get that question every day. It's like, how do you cut out the windows? So here's how I would cut out the window myself. So I'm going to very carefully push the scissors through the window. Make sure you don't cut yourself. Okay? And then I'm going to cut around this window. I think my printed template, the windows are a little bit on the skinny side. So I'm actually going to cut outside that printed window a little bit. So I'm sort of cutting around it just to widen it a little bit. There's an optimal size of a window. If it's too skinny, then it's kind of hard to see the animation frames. If it's too wide, then maybe it's too hard to get the strobe effect. So a lot of things in life. There's some Goldilocks type optimal size, right? So in this case, maybe an optimal width of that window. I think that should eventually work pretty well right there, about like that. Okay. Of course, I want to cut out all the windows. Okay. Let's look at this space for the animation frames because I've got these 12 grids lined out, right? 12 grids. So if you're going from frame to frame to frame, you want to keep track of what's the same or different in your animation. For example, my running cat right here. So I got this running cat. Maybe I want his head to be in approximately the same location. I don't really want his head to be moving around, so right? But maybe his legs, right? Front legs, back legs. I want to have a running type motion. Okay, so his body's maybe jumping up and down a little bit. His head's pretty steady, and then his legs are all over the place moving to give him some running motion. Okay, so then I could go from grid to grid and say, well, okay, from one grid to the next grid, if I want his head to be in the same place, then I need to draw it in the same location from one grid to the next grid, and so on all the way across. If I want his body to be jumping up and down a little bit, then maybe I'll pace that out. Maybe kind of like a sine wave, right? Go jump up and down, goes up a little bit, comes down a little bit, and ends about where it started, so that it'll create a looping animation. Okay? And then his legs. Let's see, if I want it to be running, I can say, okay, well, from one frame to the next, right? How much should it move? Yeah, maybe kind of keep it in mind. Maybe it could kind of map this out. So over 12 frames, if I want it to be a loop, the last frame is going to line up and be ready for the next frame. So it can create a continuous loop, something like that. Okay. Any questions so far? What's going on? All right, so you guys get to use your imagination. Of course, I have a running cat. I've seen running animals in the past. I've seen flying birds. I've seen growing plants. I've seen frogs. You can do jumping frog. Seen rockets. You can do people throwing balls. What else have I seen? Seen a lot of things. I've seen a planet, a moon orbiting a planet. I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of cool ones that I've seen, but yeah, up to you guys. You guys can come up with whatever animation you want. So, like I said, too, this is going to take us a couple of days. So, what I'm going to recommend today is that you guys get pretty much your animation frames down. If you get to cutting out your windows, then that's only going to help you out. Right? You're probably not going to get to the string today, but that's my plan for tomorrow anyway. So, my plan tomorrow is to show you guys how to string this up. So, make as much progress as you can today. Make sure your name's on your project. If it's still in a flat state, if you haven't made it a cylinder yet, you can put it in your backpack at the end of class today and bring it back tomorrow. If you have glued it into a cylinder and you're like that far ahead, you could leave it on the lab table. So if you do, yeah, I see some on the lab table from last class. Right? Just make sure, of course, your name is on it. All right, so go ahead. Again, walk around, help you guys out, and use your imaginations.
Yes, sir.
Indeed.